Hello, everyone. Today we're going to prep you for your administrative review. It's time to get all of our ducks in a row. So the first thing that you will get is an email notification from your assigned ODE specialist. They're going to have you first concentrate on section 700, which is your resource management section of the review. This will be due by November the 1st. So just a little over a month's time to get that done if you've gotten notification. This section really concentrates on the financial information for your food service program. The first thing you're going to want to do is definitely get a meeting on the calendar with your treasurer. You'll want to ask him or her for a financial detail report. In this report, you'll want to see your revenue, so the money that you brought in, as well as your expenses or what it's cost you to run your program. You'll want to get that broken down by vendor as well so that they can see the details, and even better is if they can break it down by the individual buildings within your district. The more information that you can give them, the better you'll be. You're also going to want to know your current financial standing for your food service program. Do you have a 3-month operating cost surplus? So you're going to want to figure out, on average, how much does it cost you to run your food service program? That would include things like food and supplies, as well as your labor and benefits, and then multiply that times 3. That is how much money you are allowed to keep in your food service account, typically your 006 account, before you would need to create what's called a spend down plan. The spend down plan is just to use those surplus funds to go back into your program, whether that's to buy new equipment or uniforms for your staff, however you would like to reinvest that money into bettering your program. You're also going to want to know if you are being charged any indirect costs. What are indirect costs? Those are things like garbage, the internet, telephone. So make sure that you do know if those things are being charged to your food service account. In most instances, that does need to be approved by ODE when the district is charging indirect costs to the food service account. You'll also want to know, did you happen to have a transfer from the general fund? So were you not net positive at the end of last school year? If they had to give you money to cover your expenses, then you had a general fund transfer. So please just know if that happened and provide documentation to show that if that was the case at the end of the previous school year. Another question that you'll see in section 700 is asking if you've purchased any equipment in the past year. And they're looking at large things. So combi ovens, steamers, tilt skillets, a steam jacketed kettle, any of those sorts of things. So just have all of that information ready to go to upload. There's little paper clips next to each question in KERS. So as you're going through the section 700, preparing for that initial conference call, you're going to want to attach any documentation to that. So please just make sure that you have done that. For your food service account procedures, please make sure that you have a process in place that you can share with how you know that only allowable items are being charged to your food service account. Are you weekly taking a look at that? Are you monthly taking a look at that? How often? Do you have direct access to these reports, or are you requesting these from your treasurer on a regular basis? You should be at least reviewing your financials for your department on a monthly basis, just to ensure that everything lines up with what you're spending versus what you're paying and bringing in reimbursement, and making sure that all those numbers match. Make sure that you're willing to question any unknown expenses. So if you see anything on that report that you're like, I'm not sure what this is, please make sure to ask and note that in the comment section on KERS for any of those questions. It's better to give more information to the reviewer than to leave it up for them to wonder. The paid lunch equity tool is another thing that you'll be asked about in this section 700. So through all of the waivers, there was a waiver that you did not have to fill out the paid lunch equity tool if you had a positive fund balance as of December of the previous school year. So if that was the case, then you did not have to do that. Did you increase your lunch prices anyway? What do they look like? Did you keep them what they were. So make sure that you also have that information ready to go as well for breakfast pricing, lunch pricing, and adult meal pricing. So you're going to want to make sure that you either use the adult meal calculator tool that is provided by the USDA, or you have some formula that you're able to show what your costs are to prepare and provide that adult meal, and ensuring that the cost that you're charging adults does cover all of the food and supplies, labor, and benefits that it would take to prepare those meals. The next portion is looking at your non-program food revenue. So that's all the money that you make on everything outside of the reimbursable meal. So this is looking at things like smart snacks, second entrees, adult meals, and if you are doing any catering as part of your food service program as well in your district. So make sure you got your smart snack binder ready to go and how much you're charging for those items versus what you're paying. Are you allowing the kids to buy seconds? You know, making sure you run point of sale reports so that they can see that as well. And then again, as we just talked about, those adult meals, if you're providing those, just making sure that you have information on what's being provided and the cost of that to the adults. Same with catering, that you are keeping all of that separate so that you can keep track of the food and supplies, labor, and benefits that are also being used to create these catered events, and then just making sure that you're getting adequately paid for those events. So what are the next steps? Section 700 is pretty simple. Once you meet with your treasurer, you should be able to fill this section out relatively quickly. So you'll let the reviewer know. They will set up a conference call day and time that works for both of you, and you'll go over the items that have been discussed. Go ahead and start once you get section 700 done. You can go ahead and start working on the other offsite forms that are incurred. So that section 100, 300, 600, 900, you can go ahead and start working your way through those once you have that call. Once that call is set up with your ODE specialist. And then obviously, then you'll prepare your staff for the on-site visit when the reviewer does decide to come on site. So please don't be worried. We are here for you. We'll have a series of trainings in part 2. We'll talk a little bit more about the other sections of the offsite form completion. So look forward to that if you have questions along the way.